Hey y'all, it's Andi. Welcome back to my podcast. I'm so excited. Y'all gotta bear with me, okay? Because I'm so not used to doing video, okay? And if my teenage daughter was here right now, she would say that every intro that I do, every intro is cringe, okay? Whenever I say, hey y'all, welcome back, every time that I do anything with like social media, with Instagram or TikTok, my teenagers are always making fun of me. Of course, they're my biggest supporters and they love me, but they're like, "You're so millennial cringe." What even is millennial cringe? Like, are y'all millennial cringe? Apparently, I'm a millennial mom. Like, I know there's different generations that, like, for different birth years or like decades that you're born, and apparently, I'm a millennial. I was born in '89, so I'm a '90s baby, and apparently I'm a millennial. But whenever I do stuff like that, I think things like millennial cringe are like, I don't know, like doing this. No, or doing like I don't really know what it is, like for pictures, or like they say that like whenever I have a millennial pause whenever I go to do like videos and stuff like that. So apparently there's a whole cringiness that comes along with being a millennial mom. I don't know. But they will call me out about these intros. So I'm just saying, y'all give me some grace because I'm used to recording. And what am I doing with my hands? I feel like Anchorman, like Will Ferrell, like where he's like, what do I do with my hands? It's easier whenever you have a guest on, but whenever it's me solo recording, especially video, y'all just bear with me. Your girl's gotten awkward in her 30s, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm used to recording in like an oversized t-shirt and my messy bun and pajama pants, whatever it is, because usually I'm recording really early in the morning or either late at night when my kids are asleep, and I can do a million takes if I need to. So this is just new to me. So y'all bear with me, okay? Y'all bear with me. Today's episode, I just want to catch up. I've not been able to catch up with y'all. And I know that whenever you listen to this podcast, you're like, where'd she even go? She said she's going to be back. And she wasn't back. So let me just tell y'all, okay? Give me some grace in that area too, because over the past year, like since last summer, I think I recorded a few random episodes, like maybe in early fall last year. And I had intentions of coming back consistently. But let me tell y'all, your girl has wrote a book. Okay, I have wrote a book. This is something that's like, I can't tell you how many times I have cried over this. I have spent so much time and blood, sweat, and tears poured into this book. My book is going to be live for all the world in April, and y'all, I'm so excited. Like, I have never worked harder on anything in my life as I have on this book. And it's a book, it's been a long time coming. Like, God called me to write a book years ago. Like, I know that God put a gift on my heart for writing and being able to resonate with other people and to be able to put forth, put my words like out there, like to make people feel seen and heard. And he's given me a gift for that. And I know that a book was part of the plan, but do y'all ever feel like God's called you to do something and then you put it on the back burner, or like, oh, I'll get to that later? Y'all know what I mean? Or is it just me? That was the book for me. Okay. I always thought, well, you know what? A perfectly good excuse is I'm a mom of 6 kids. I have 6 kids, and I'm just never going to be able to write a book because I don't have time. Because let's say they're all doing sports. We're just as busy now, if not busier than we were last year or the year before. And but here's the thing, you have to make time for it. Like sometimes we put all of our dreams always on the back burner, and my kids, like my number one dream is being a mama, and I'm walking in it. Okay, so there's a sign that hangs up in my house that says I still remember the days that I prayed for what I have now, and that's me. Like that's my life. Like we prayed so hard for a family, and we were told, years ago that we would never be able to have kids unless we did IVF, and God provided, and we were able to do IVF, and now we have a full house. And y'all, I haven't even told y'all that I have a bonus baby now. Okay, now me and Cody didn't get a divorce. We had an exchange student, and that was something that was totally out of left field too. And I'm not even podcasted since then. But I talk about this in my book as well. Y'all, my book is coming out in April, and it's called Purpose Over Perfection. And it's amazing. Like I don't even want to take credit for this book because I was talking to my mom this week, and I said this book is like written so much by the Holy Spirit, because even going back and reading some of the stuff that was written, like I know that it was 100% God. And he took my messy self. Y'all know that I got I have got ADHD and I'm unmedicated now. But he took my mess of a self that's unorganized, that is, I call myself a type Z because I'm the opposite of whatever a type A is. Your girl just, I'm not that, okay? I am scattered. I say that I'm as scattered as last year's Easter eggs. And actually there are still some Easter eggs in my living room right now. I don't know how. I think that we were going to save them for like a homeschool activity and it just didn't happen. I was going to write letters on them with a Sharpie or something to use for Tilly and it just hadn't happened. But I am as scattered as they come. And there's a shirt that somebody had sent me one time that said, my ducks aren't in a row. I don't even know where some of them are. I do know where my ducklings are, okay? But they are scattered, okay? So if God can use me to orchestrate such a beautiful book that I know is going to help so many women, then he can use you too. And that's what we're going to be talking about today is about calling. That's something that's been on my heart. And y'all know how I am with podcasts. I know there are some podcast hosts that they plan way in advance what they're going to talk about. And as for me, I pray about it and I'm like, Lord, what do you want me to talk about today? But calling has been something that's heavy on my heart. So after we catch up, that's what this episode is going to be about, is about calling. Okay. So long story short, let's rewind. Okay. Last year in May, I went to a conference called Teach Them Diligently. And I have been going to this conference for several years. It's a homeschool conference, and they always do this big, giant one in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. So that's kind of become a tradition that I go with my cousins, and we will, like, there's been times where we've gotten up at like 2 or 3 a.m. and drove straight there, and then we'll stay the night, but we make 2 full days out of it. And it is amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. They have speakers come in. The very first year that I went was my favorite because the speaker was Ben Carson. You can't top Ben Carson. He was great. And then it was the Kendrick brothers. So it was like the ones that, like the producers of the film Fireproof and Courageous and all that. They told their story, which was amazing. But then there's also breakout speakers. And there's tons of breakout speakers where you can go to these different workshops and they can talk to you and encourage you. Like, even honestly, even moms that aren't homeschool moms that are just, parents, it's wonderful. It's wonderful for parents, grandparents. And the very first year that I started going, I was with my cousin, but I remember having a moment where I thought she was going to have to slap me because I couldn't quit crying. I felt so. There was a specific speaker that, like, it was like she was speaking right to my heart. And I cried and I cried and I cried about, she was talking about, like, your kids growing up and stuff like that. And, sometimes we're in survival mode and this and that. And I can't even remember exactly what it was, but I know that it tugged at my heartstrings big time. But I can remember looking at my cousin and saying, man, I hope, like, what a dream. Like, I would love to be there one day. Like, their husbands were in the back selling their books, and then they were speaking, at these breakout events, these rooms that we would go into, and we would choose, which workshops, which speakers we wanted to go hear, and then they were selling their books. So last year, I said the same thing. Every year I'm like, man, it would be awesome to maybe one day I'll have a booth here. Well, y'all, I'm going to be there this year. And I'm like, there are no words to tell you how excited I am. So if you are a homeschool mom, or even like, it's a wonderful conference, wonderful. It's for homeschoolers, but it's amazing. I'm going to be at Pigeon Forge with them. And it's called Teach Them Diligently. And y'all got to check it out. Okay. But I'm going to be a speaker there this year. Ken Ham is going to be there. Heidi St. John is going to be there. I'm going to be just a breakout speaker. And I'm going to be speaking on raising godly daughters in today's culture. And guess what? I'm going to have my book there. So, like, if that's not a God thing, I don't know what is. Because last May, I was saying, it's every year. Lord, maybe one day, this is a dream of mine to maybe at this conference one day and be able to speak and encourage other mamas and be able to sell my books. So my husband is going to go and he's going to sell my books in the back too. And I'm going to have a booth and I'm going to be able to meet all kinds of people and I'm going to be able to sell my book there and be a speaker there. So y'all, that's just a dream of mine. That's something that I have been working on, is getting ready and getting prepared for that conference. But I've also been so busy because of this book, because I have been writing and then getting it to my editor and then doing revisions and all the stuff that goes along with it. But y'all, it's been, I couldn't podcast and I couldn't write the book at the same time. I know that so many people do that, and I'm going to try, because I'm going to be writing more books, and I'm going to try to find my groove and be able to do that. But I knew that in the season that I was in, if I was going to be able to focus on the book, all while homeschooling and all while momming and all while doing everything else, being a chauffeur, being a cook, being a wife, homeschooling the kids, all of the things, the laundry. Let's not even talk about the laundry because the laundry is still the same situation that it was last year, girl. Okay. The laundry is still that's still a struggle for me. Okay. Is the laundry. It gets done, but there's still piles of it. Y'all know what it is. Whenever you got a bunch of kids, that's just how it rolls. But last summer, I may have talked about Young some in the podcast, but he became my son's best friend, and he was with us a lot. And then we had the opportunity to take him in and be his host family unexpectedly. But that was just all a God thing as well, because he became just like one of ours. So throughout the late summer and fall, as I was writing the book, we were trying to make all the memories that we could with Young, because we knew that Young was going back in December. He went back just a couple days before Christmas, and y'all, that was the hardest thing that I think that we've ever done as a family. Like, one of the hardest things for sure was having to say goodbye to Young, because whenever somebody becomes family and they're like your other child, and then you have to say goodbye and send them 3,000 miles away, like, that was a struggle. So December and January was really hard, and it's still really hard, but thank God for FaceTime. Thank God for FaceTime. Okay. That we still get to talk to him, and he is coming back. So we've just had so much going on that I've just not had time to podcast. But guess what? I had said from the get-go that when I come back for this podcast, it's going to be better than it's been. It's going to be new. I'm going to have more guests on, and y'all, I have some amazing guests scheduled for this season that are already scheduled. Y'all be proud of me. They're in the calendar, y'all. They are in like this little organized calendar online, not just in my head. Not just in my head. So I am coming a long way. You know what I mean? I do have some awesome guests planned. They live in other states, so we will be primarily recording like on Zoom on this site that I use. I'm recording now in my studio, so I knew whenever I did the video, I couldn't really be holed up in my basement, because then y'all would see all my mess for sure. So I'm in my studio, which is also doubles as my photography studio, but it's going to be doing a whole lot more with the podcast here soon. But that's where I'm recording, and it's kind of quiet out here, because usually I have to pause a million times because somebody needs a snack or somebody needs something. Somebody needs mama every 5 minutes. Y'all know how it is, okay? I don't have to tell y'all nothing. Y'all already know how it is. But today, in today's episode, I want to talk about calling. And there is an entire chapter in my book about calling. And the title is, I'm not going to give too many details about the book, but the title for this chapter is Your Calling Isn't Canceled by Your Chaos. Okay. So what better way to introduce this than on For the Love of Chaos podcast. Okay. And in that, as I was writing that chapter, I talked about Young, and that's why I mentioned Young today, that we sometimes out of the blue, like out of the ordinary, God sends you a Korean son out of nowhere, like unexpectedly, but sometimes that may not look like that for everybody else, but sometimes God calls you to do something that was kind of like a curveball. You know what I mean? Like you weren't expecting it. Like for me, I knew that writing this book was on the radar, but I didn't ever honestly see it happening. I didn't ever see. That's why I say that it was 100% a God thing, because God made a way. God helped me to get up those early mornings. He helped me to stay focused whenever He knows that focus is not my strong suit, honey. It is not. Nothing about me. Focus and Andi are not even in the same vocabulary. They're not. So the fact that God worked that out alone and helped me to get this book written it is amazing. Like it is, because I don't take credit for that. That's God, because I'm not the one that can focus. But sometimes we don't have clarity on the calling. Like sometimes we just don't. Sometimes God calls us to do things before we even know how to do it or what it looks like. You know what I mean? But that is what faith is. Okay? That's what faith is stepping into it whenever it's a little bit cloudy. Sometimes clarity is going to look a little bit cloudy before it looks clear. You know what I mean? Like imagine like stepping into the ocean. And so, whenever the water's really, really clear and, you can see what is out in front of you, so you don't feel as iffy. Because I know whenever I get in the ocean, I'm scared of sharks, and I'm scared of my kids getting in there with some sharks. And, have you ever felt like a fish bump you and you don't know what it is? You don't know if it's a fish or if it's seaweed that hits you, whatever it is. It's a lot easier to see that, like whenever you're walking, in the edge of the ocean, whenever it's clear waters. But what's harder is whenever you're stepping in that water and clear. Do y'all know what I mean? I hope that makes sense to somebody. Whenever there is the murky water and it's seaweed and all that stuff, it makes it a little bit harder to see what's ahead. But the thing about faith is, and whenever God calls you to something, is that we got to move our feet anyways. Okay. Even if it's crystal clear and we know what it looks like or what our steps are, and even whenever it's a little bit murky and we don't know what's in that water, we don't know what's up ahead of us, sometimes He doesn't give us the clarity until after we start taking the steps. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not, sometimes He just wants our yes. Sometimes He just wants to know that we're going to be obedient to Him, and we have to trust that He's going to be there either way, that He just is. Okay. So there is, in my book, I have got it on here like it's a document. So if y'all see me looking down, I'm reading a little bit of a snippet out of my book. God really got moving on me about this specific chapter about, stay in the course, even whenever things kind of, you're kind of blindsided and you don't know what it's going to look like. And maybe your plans get a little bit wrecked. You know what I mean? Or maybe you're like, well, have you ever had plans that you thought, oh, well, I'm going to be going here, and then it gets rained out? Or, maybe it's a wedding or something and you plan and you spend all of this money and then it doesn't happen the way that you think it's going to happen. Or maybe it's a job that you think you're going to have and then it falls through. Or maybe it's a business that you've started. Or maybe it's a business that you are thinking about starting, but you're kind of scared because that takes an investment of money and time and energy, and you just don't know how it's going to work. But you feel that tug on your heart. You feel like God's calling you to do it. Sometimes He doesn't show us the whole picture. Sometimes He just gives us the call and He expects us to answer the call. And whenever it is that we start walking, then He'll start giving us more vision about it. You know what I mean? So in the book, I'm going to read just a little snippet from this. Whenever I started writing it, God really put the story of Nehemiah on my heart. And that's not, of course, we all know like Bible stories and stuff, but Nehemiah was not one that really ever stuck out to me before I started writing this book. And as I wrote each chapter, I prayed so hard that God would be in it. Like it would be written by God, because God knows that I'm a mess. Okay. So I know that for this to have power, I wanted to step out of the way. I wanted to step to the side and say, God, have your way. Have your way with this book. Have your way in my life. Like whatever you want to do through this book, I know that you're going to do something big. Like I know that you're going to help other women. I know that you're going to use it however you see fit. You're going to place it in the hands of the people that read it the most or that need it the most. But you have your way. So Nehemiah was never really a story that stuck out to me much before. That was one that wasn't really on the radar. But as I was writing, it was actually 2 days before the manuscript was due to my editor. And I was just kind of struggling with the last chapter, like trying to tie it all up together. And God really started moving on me about the story of Nehemiah. Okay. So I'm going to give y'all some little script from this about the story of Nehemiah. It says, the Holy Spirit brought the story of Nehemiah to my mind when writing this very last chapter. Nehemiah had an assignment, and he did not step into it because he felt qualified. Okay. I'm sure he felt a little intimidated. I know that I would have. He stepped into it because he knew that God called him. The book of Nehemiah is a beautiful illustration of not only the physical rebuilding of a wall, but also the spiritual rebuilding that took place while restoring the people of Jerusalem. The assignment that God gave Nehemiah felt bigger than him. He had a heavy heart and was burdened for the city of Jerusalem. Nehemiah was the cupbearer of the king, and after much prayer, he approached the king and asked if he could go help to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Long story short, y'all, not only did the king allow him to do that, but he sent an army with him, okay? And back in the older days, like back in Bible days, it kind of reminded me of like Esther, how it was when she approached the king. Like that wasn't something that you just called somebody up and was like, hey, I've got an idea. And that they were going to be met with grace and kindness. They could be like killed for going to the king. Like you don't just go to the king for anything. That's got to be something that you know that God is calling you to do. Just like Esther and just like Nehemiah, you know that it's something that God has placed on you, or you're not just going to go to the king lightly. Like that's something that needed a lot of prayer to go and approach the king about something back then. But the assignment that God gave Nehemiah felt bigger than him. He had a heavy heart. Okay, I've already said that. He was the cupbearer. And long story short, not only did he allow them to do that, allowed him to do it, he sent an army with him. That is provision. Okay? That's provision. Sometimes we don't know what the full story is. Like sometimes we don't know what it is that God's calling me to do, but you just know that he's calling you to it. So if it's that business that maybe you're wanting to start, maybe it's having another child, or maybe it's starting a family, or maybe it's being a stay-at-home mom. Maybe it's something like a small group or serving at church. Oh gosh. It's getting fuzzy, y'all. Can y'all hear me? All I can say is it's getting fuzzy because your girl is not a technical person. Okay. I just told my mom this week, I said, I feel like ChatGPT, where I've been having to Google stuff for how to set up links and stuff for my, I'm trying to do like website stuff and set up these links, and I don't know how to do it. So I'll ask ChatGPT, and I feel like at this point, they're like, this girl needs to go to a doctor or something. She needs, like, she is not living in the 21st century. Like, she needs some help here, because I'm like, okay, I see like some dots up here and some lines up here, like whenever it comes to stuff like that. So if it sounds a little fuzzy, listen, I don't really know how to fix it besides just doing these little knobs up and down, because I'm not the technical person. Okay, I'm just not. But sometimes in the calling, we don't know what it looks like, but we know that God's calling us to it. Okay, so Nehemiah knew that he needed to go help build that wall. Okay, and I'm not a Bible scholar. I'm just not. But in the research that I did for the book, it had been previously tried to be, it was attempted to be built for like 72 years. And what took them 72 years, it took him just like a year or a few months, or not, maybe it was so many days. I put it in the book. But he never panicked whenever opposition came. So as Nehemiah was building this wall, the enemy sent all kinds of people against him, like with weapons. And so he was building with one hand, and he had a sword in the other hand. So I thought about that. I was like, oh my gosh, like he didn't stop. And in one of the scriptures, he said, I'm building right now. Like I cannot come down. And here it is. History tells us that others attempted and failed for 72 years. But when God sent Nehemiah, it took him 52 days. Nehemiah's enemies showed up continuously throughout this whole time of him trying to build this wall. They mocked him. They were loud. They were vicious. They tried to be scary. They ridiculed him. They plotted against him to try to kill him, to try to bring harm to him and his army. And they tried to incite fear, like so much fear in him, because they knew that they knew that he had an assignment. So oftentimes whenever the enemy knows that we have an assignment, he will try to bring destruction. And if he can't bring destruction, he will absolutely try to bring delay. Okay? And whatever season that you're in, if he sees you walking towards God, you better believe that he has a plan against you to try to stop you. Okay? I've seen that in my own life. So many Christians, whenever they start walking into ministry or walking into their calling of whatever it is that God's calling them to, expect warfare. Okay? So Nehemiah, he got the warfare. He was experiencing all the warfare. They mocked him. They were loud. They created distractions. They tried every way to stop his mission, to cancel his assignment, like completely. Okay? But Scripture tells us that Nehemiah was completely unfazed. Okay? Think about that kind of patience. Like, who can have the kind of patience and that can build with one hand and have a sword in another? Like, unfazed. He wasn't scared. He just kept on building. He knew that he had a job to do. And he kept his eyes on the mission in spite of any warfare that the enemy sent his way. No matter who was sent into the camp, no matter what threats that they made, no matter what fear that they tried to instill deep in his heart, he stayed the course. Nehemiah 6:3 says, I am doing a great work and I cannot come down. Okay? So that was such a convicting scripture for me to reflect on, because I wondered, like, how many times have I come down off the wall? How many times? How many times have I allowed the enemy to intimidate me, or allow fear to take deep root in my heart and get me to just stop? If y'all have ever heard of fight or flight, that's what I've caught myself doing so many times, is either being froze. It's fight, fear, froze. I've got that somewhere in the book too. But it's where you become either frozen and you don't know what to do, or you want to fight, or you want to flee, you want to run away. And that's what I do. So I've done so many times whenever the enemy comes knocking at my door or trying to cancel my assignment, I've allowed him to delay me. So this book that is starting to come out, it doesn't mean I've not experienced warfare with it, because honey, I have experienced a lot of warfare while writing this book. But whenever we are doing a work for God and we know that it's God 100% in it, the enemy cannot stop it, but he will try to delay and he will try to send distractions along the way, just like he did with Nehemiah. But as I was writing this, it stopped me in my tracks whenever I read that scripture, and I was like, how many times have I come off the wall? Because I know that I didn't always build with one hand, I have a sword in the other. Sometimes it was just a sword, like ready to come fight somebody, anybody that messed with me. But how many times have we come down off the wall because the enemy has intimidated us, because he knows when you're building something for God, whether it be all the things that I mentioned, whether it be rebuilding your marriage, or maybe it's starting a family, or maybe it's trying to come together. Maybe you've made the decision that you're not going to you're not going to raise your kids you want to raise your kids with family values and with morals and whatever it is, that the enemy's going to try to come along and destruct that. He's going to try to keep us busy to where we're not focusing on, doing a devotional at night with our kids or praying over our kids. He gets us so bogged down and so tired and so distracted. We have so many distractions, y'all. Like, I think about like the 80s and the 90s, the days before social media, and I'm a little bit jealous sometimes. Like, I'm a little bit not jealous, but like I wish that we could go back to that time sometimes. And even though social media now is wonderful in ways that you can have a platform and share about Jesus, and you can be an encourager to other people, and it can be a community in a sense, it can also have a lot of downfalls. Like, that can become an idol a lot of times, and that can become a distraction in our motherhood or in anything that we do. Sometimes we just shut down and scroll. You know what I mean? Like, I think that women are bad about it. I think that all of us can be bad about it sometimes, just to sit down and scroll and it be a distraction. But here's the thing. Philippians 1:6 says this, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Your wall will be completed. Okay, it will. So whatever wall that God is calling you to build, keep building it, sister. Like, don't let the enemy distract you and delay you or completely destruct it. Because if God's in it, the enemy has no foothold over you. It's time to crush the serpent's head and say, you have no power over me. You have no power over my life. You have no power over my ministry, or my family. Like, it's time that we take back that authority and that boldness and say, no, I have work to do. I have a wall to build, and I'm going to keep building it with one hand with the bricks and one hand with the sword, because the enemy has no power over you. He has no power over your assignment. He cannot cancel the assignment that God has given you. He just cannot. But he will try to delay you, and he will try to wreak havoc, and he will try to send his troops to scare you. But keep going. Keep building. Like, whatever that wall is, like for me, it was my book. It's even this podcast. Like, I know that so many times that even last year I'd made the conscious decision to step away for a hiatus while I wrote the book. And I still feel like that was the right decision, because I don't know about y'all, but like my brain gets too many tabs open all the time. And I knew that if I wanted to pour my whole heart into this book that I was writing, that God was calling me to write, I couldn't podcast at the same time. So now that it is written, and even though it's still in the last phases of like the editing and publishing part of it, I do know that this is my time to step back into podcasting and be an encouragement and talk with other women and have these guests on. And I really feel like God is going to use it to glorify him and to help encourage other women and to help show them their callings, to show them that sometimes it's kind of cloudy. Sometimes the calling is cloudy. And sometimes there's a lot of chaos, but that doesn't cancel your assignment. That does not cancel your calling. Getting back to the exchange student thing, we were never expecting to take on an exchange student. Like, we never signed up to do that. It was something that kind of fell into our lap and we were asked to do it. And it was a situation where we knew to say yes. Like, we didn't have much time to make a decision, but it wasn't one of those decisions where we could really think about it. Like, we knew in our hearts, like, absolutely yes. I don't know how it's going to work, and I don't know how it's going to turn out, and I don't even know if they're going to accept us, whenever we have to do this application and such. But I knew that God was in it, and God took care of it, and God ended up sending us another child. He's just like our own. He's our bonus Korean son that we love and talk to every day. But had we said no to that assignment because of our chaos, because let me tell you, honey, y'all know that the chaos runs deep at the Harper house. Okay, it just does. And at first we were wondering, okay, he loves us and we know that he loves like coming and hanging out and stuff, but how's he going to do living with us 24/7? Like, with the little brothers and sisters really beating his nerves, and the wrestling matches and this and that, like all that there was, like, but God worked it out. And I think about all the time, what if we would have said no to that? Like, what if we would have, maybe logistically, like if you've got something that God's placed on your heart and you have all of these, maybe you're the planner, and maybe you have all the reasons to say no because you just can't get it to add up. Like you can't figure out a way that you're going to make it work. Sometimes there's just faith is saying yes and stepping out anyways and saying, okay, I don't know, these waters look a little bit cloudy. For the book, for me, I didn't know what I was doing. Y'all, I still don't know what I'm doing. But God placed people in my path to help me along the way. And he has opened up doors for me that are nothing but a God thing, that are nothing at all but a God thing. He's placed people and opportunities into my path that I still can't really tell you how it happened, besides it was God. Sometimes we, just like Esther in the Bible, where she just sought out God before she went to the king, and she ended up saving her people. And just like Nehemiah, going to the king and asking to go help build the wall. Sometimes we just have to stay the course, and sometimes we just have to trust God, even when we don't know what's up ahead. Because I know that it was scary. I know that they felt fear, just like you may feel fear. And whatever it is that God's calling you to, I don't know what it is. Like, everybody's calling looks different, whatever is on their hearts, whether it be a business, something in motherhood, maybe being a stay-at-home mom, maybe, doing your own ministry, whatever it is that God's calling you to. Just know that if it is a God thing, and God will, whenever you pray about it and you seek God about it, he will let you know if it's a God thing or if it's a you thing. Because sometimes there have been ideas that I've had that aren't necessarily bad things. Like, they could even be good things, but they weren't God things. So sometimes he just has to reposition us and realign us. And sometimes that comes in forms of disappointment. Like, oh, I had this plan, but it didn't really work out. There was even just this past week, I got a little teary eyed talking to my husband about something, because there was a post that I had written, and it gotten like the top for like a contest for Proverbs 31. And this was several years ago that I'd written it, and it was about something deeply personal. It was about renewing our wedding vows. And I never shared that until this year, like with social media, with people that knew me. But I had written it for this contest. Like, it was something that God had pulled me to write, and I wanted to submit it. And I thought that it was going to be chosen. Like, I thought that there was a pretty good chance that it was going to be chosen, and it was not chosen for the winner of this. But I feel like God was telling me it's not for them. Like, you've written it for a reason, but it's not for them. And this was 3 years ago, y'all. That very post, like that very snippet that I wrote, has tied in beautifully with the book. Like beautifully. Like, it's like it went there all along. So sometimes God will have you do things that you don't know what it's for. Maybe maybe it looks like a disappointment, but it's for another season. Or maybe we don't see it right now because it's down the road. But he will absolutely hold on. You know what I mean? Sometimes we got to stay patient and stay the course and keep building the wall, and don't come down off the wall, no matter how frustrated or how disappointed that you might get, or any of those humanly feelings, like any of those human feelings that you would have whenever the enemy tries to send the troops to destruct you or tear the wall down. You have an assignment. God has given you a calling. Do not let don't let any cloudiness of your vision keep you from the calling. You know what I mean? Like, don't let any of your chaos keep you from the calling. Your calling cannot be canceled by anything that the enemy sends your way. Okay? So stay the course. Keep going. How do we do it? One prayer at a time. One bite at a time. One step. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Have you ever heard that? I know that's a crazy analogy, but I've always heard, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Sometimes it looks like there's no way, like just like my book. I thought, there ain't no way, because I can't focus to save my life, and I have a lot of kids, and I'm homeschooling and all these other things. But God will make a way. Like, he will clear the path. Like, even if it looks like there is no path, he will make you one. Even if it's a little bit rickety and rugged and through the woods. And even if you fall a few times along the way, honey, he will make you a path, okay? And you just get up and you keep going, okay? If you are building that wall, do it with the sword in one hand and let the enemy know, hey, you don't have authority to even be here. You need to back up, because I have something to do. I have a call. I have a wall to build. don't come down off that wall. And if you do, because I know that I've come down off that wall before, and sometimes life will get you. Okay. Sometimes we will go through hard seasons and hard things where we just have to step away. Okay. And that's been me in my own life. But if you do come down off the wall, go back to it. Okay. Even if it's 10 years later, even if it's 20 years later, maybe you're going back to school. Maybe God's always called you to maybe be a teacher or a nurse or whatever it is. Whatever it is, it can look like so many things. I don't know what it looks like for you. What your calling is and what my calling is are different things. But you know what it is because God has placed it on your heart, and it's that burning that keeps you up at night, and it's that thing that you can't stop thinking about, and it's that thing that maybe you're praying about. And even if it was 10 years ago, if you started building that wall and then you got intimidated and you came down, I'm here to tell you today, it's not too late to go back to that wall. Okay. He will finish what he started in your life. Okay. Whatever it is, I just feel the Spirit moving and saying, right now that whatever it is, go back to that wall, because he who started in you, he who started a good work in you will see it to completion, girl. And not because of your own might and not because of your own strength. Yes, we have to keep going, and we've got to surrender to God, and we've got to put forth our best effort. Even when we're tired, we got to get up and we got to keep going, but he will finish it. Okay? Just like this book, I thought Andi will never finish it. Okay? But God. Okay? But I'm busy, but God. But I've got a lot of kids, but God. But I'll never have the time to do that, but God. Okay? But I'll never be healed enough, but God. Okay? Whatever it is, there is a God in your situation. Okay? There is a God in our lives that loves you, and he has a plan for you, and he has a calling on your life. We were not put on this earth just to take up space, honey. Okay? God, yes, life is a gift, but you have a gift. Okay? And I don't want you to forget that. This is for somebody today. I know that it is. That even though life is a gift, you have a gift. Okay? Don't forget that. God has intricately placed and birthed a gift in you. Okay? A gift in you. And he doesn't want you to keep that gift and tuck it away. He wants you to share it with the world. Okay? And maybe it's not on a platform. Maybe it's just being able to witness to your neighbor. Maybe it's being able to share your testimony for the first time, because nobody has a testimony like yours. Okay? My testimony and your testimony are not the same. They're two totally different things. And nobody's story is the same, but that's what's beautiful. We all need stories, okay? And somebody else's testimony and somebody else's healing could be wrapped in your testimony that you haven't shared with them yet. So maybe it's just something as simple as finding the boldness to share your story with somebody. Maybe it's your neighbor. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's a stranger at the grocery store. I don't know. But whatever it is that God's calling you to, even if it's cloudy, and even if it's not super clear, just stay the course and keep going, because I promise you, he will take care of you every step of the way. Every step of the way. Okay? But y'all, I'm going to wrap up this episode. This one may have seemed a little scattered, and I may have had a little bit of a runny nose, and I may have been awkward. I just talked about on my TikTok this week. And if y'all have TikTok, go follow me on Andi Harper. Also, I'm trying to build my Instagram. It's Andi Harper, or For the Love of Chaos, I think it's Andi Harper. But I'm trying to do all the things, all while juggling, homeschooling, mom life, ball practice, everything. Okay, I'm trying to do all of the things, and it's not easy sometimes. But I also feel like I'm in a season of like awkwardness, like where my brain feels like mush, like I just talked about. Somebody asked me this week, what year did I graduate? And I said 1989. And they looked at me kind of like I was crazy, like I didn't maybe look that old, thank God. Or maybe they thought, yeah, she looks that old. No, I was born in 89. I didn't graduate in 89, so I had to correct that. And I was telling somebody else, it was on a TikTok video, I said, there have been times at the store, have you ever felt like maybe you're just awkward and then you beat yourself up over after it? You're like, why did I just say that? Like a cashier said, thank you. And I'm like, love you too. Like, what in the world? Y'all know what I mean? Like, do y'all do that? I feel like I've had moments like that all in my life, but it's gotten worse in my 30s, y'all. It has gotten worse in my 30s. We were at a ball game this week, a ball game. My son is still embarrassed over this, okay? But they had said, like, if you, like, they were talking about all that I caught, because we had come in late. I was overstimulated and I was tired. And all that I heard was, if you have something about serving in your community and they've done this and that, and we need to stand, talking. And I thought, oh, they're fixing to bring out some veterans. So I'm like, stand up. Well, I look around, there's just a few people. And my son, I was like, this is what's wrong with America. Like, nobody is patriotic anymore. Like, that's pretty sad. Like, my own kids ain't even stand up. They're like, sit down. And I was like, no, stand up. Like, stand up. And they're like, you didn't serve our community and our country. Like, why are you standing? So I sat down real quick. But that's what I get for just hearing bits and pieces. Okay, that's what I get. But I hope y'all have an awesome week, and I hope y'all tune in next week because I am going to have a special guest on, and I hope that this encourages somebody, and I hope that y'all hang with me through my mess and through my technical issues and through this whole video thing because I'm getting used to it. Okay, I'm getting used to the swing of things. But I love y'all, and I'm so excited to be back consistently and regularly, and I'm so excited for this whole season, y'all. This whole season is going to be awesome, and I'm excited to see what God is going to do. I want y'all to share this podcast with a friend, and if there's a snippet that encourages you, share it with somebody, and that way I can reach as many women that needs this message as possible. Hope y'all have an awesome week, and y'all tune in next week. See y'all later.